So now that you know about genotype and phenotype, let's look at why Gregor Mendel got his numbers. So if you have two parents, one that's purple and one that's white, and they're both homozygous, purple plants are always going to make purple plants, white plants are always going to make white plants until you cross them. And remember, each parent makes certain sperm and eggs. So let's call this one a sperm, and this one's making eggs. And remember, each sperm or egg or gamete only gets one copy of each gene, so the A gene, let's say. So the only types of A genes this one purple parent has are big A alleles. So every gamete, every sperm will have big A. And the only type of gametes this white plant has are little a, and that's the eggs. And so if we cross those and make babies with them, fuse those together into a zygote, you're going to notice that that zygote's going to get one of each, making it a heterozygote. And these appear purple because the purple allele, the big A allele, is dominant to the little a, meaning it covers up seeing it. Doesn't make it go away, isn't more common, anything like that. It just can cover up the little a's, seeing the little a's phenotype. So then we said he crossed these back to themselves, which means he's basically doing this, two heterozygotes being crossed. So those are the plants, the parent plants. And I'll write it here. So if we look at what kind of gametes we can form here, you'll notice that we can have sperm that have the big A, and we can have sperm that have the little a. So we should have half and half. And for this parent, the female part of that plant, we can have eggs that have the big A, and we can have eggs that have the little a. And remember, this law of segregation says we'll only have one of each in each gamete. And that makes sense, right? Because they need to come back together and make a baby. And if we didn't only have one, if we had two in each, then we'd have a baby with four. And that's not good. We need the babies to have two. We need them to be diploid. So then we can do the crosses, and you could like work these out, you know, to see all the combos you could get. But we have an easy visual way of doing that called a Punnett square. So what you do with the Punnett square, let's actually go back up and work a Punnett square for this one. So what you do is you put eggs and sperm of the parents on the outsides and then see what babies you can make. So we have a sperm with a big A, that's the option up here for that parent. So parent one's stuff goes up here. It doesn't matter which side, but parent two, we're going to put down here. So parent two makes the little a's. So the option we have is a big A from dad and a little a from mom. And so there's only one option to make. So 100% of those babies are big A, little a, which gives them the purple, which is what we showed here. So that's a Punnett square, a very simple one. Now we have one here with a few more options. So we know we have two options for parent number one, two sperm types. We have big A sperm, we have little a sperm. And we have two options in this case for the second parent, the mother's phenotype. We have big A eggs, we have little a eggs. So if we do the crosses there, we could have two big A's from the egg and the sperm. We could have a big A from the egg, a little a from the sperm. We could have a big A from the sperm, a little a from the egg, and we could have a little a from the egg and from the sperm. So those are our options of the babies. And every time these parents mate or cross-pollinate, every time it's going to be the same possible ratio of the babies. So if you actually look at the outcomes here, we're going to have purple babies. Oh, let me just do it in purple. So we have purple babies because they have a big A. This one has a big A, so they'll be purple. This one has a big A, so they'll be purple. And then this one doesn't have a big A, it just has little a's, so that'll be white. So what does this give us? This gives us the baby options. We have 3 purple flowers, for every, I'm not going to draw it in that color because it's hard to see, one white flower. So that's where we get this 3-to-1 ratio, or 3/4 and 1/4. Because you can see there's the probability, this is all probabilities. So the probability of a purple flower is 3/4. The probability of a white flower plant is 1/4. So that's how you work a Punnett square. And you can see how that relates to independent assortment, and how it relates to meiosis to make those gametes, and then how it relates to Mendel's numbers. If we wanted to use these probabilities to calculate other probabilities, we can do that. So for example, if the question is something like, what's the probability of 2 purple plants and 1 white plant, or flowers, existing, we take the probability of each thing and then multiply them together. So in order for multiple things to happen, like 2 purples and 1 white, it's just multiplying the probabilities. So what's the probability of 1 purple? 3/4. That's from up here. What's the probability of a second purple? Same thing, because every cross is the same. What's the probability of 1 white? 1/4. So if you multiply these, you just multiply across the top and across the bottom. So that's 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 4 is 64. And so we'd have a 9/64 chance of getting 2 purples and 1 white offspring. Let's say, what's the probability of getting 2 white plants? Again, we just do the probability of each. Probability of 1 white times the probability of a second white. So that's 1/16. What's the probability of a purple plant? We've already calculated that. You recall, that was just 3/4. If we ask for what's the ratio of offspring, that's going to be this here, 3 purple to 1 white. And let's just do one more cross. So let's say we have a heterozygote. So this would be purple crossed with a white plant. So we know that's homozygous recessive. And so we think about what gametes can the purple plant produce. Well, half of them should be big A, half of them should be little a. What gametes can the white plant produce? Only little a. So we can do the crosses, so we can get a baby that's heterozygous, or we could get a baby that's homozygous recessive. So our ratio of genotypes, 1 big A little a to 1 little a, that's the genotypic ratio. The phenotypic ratio would be 1 purple, right? Because big A little a has a big A, which makes it purple, to 1 white. That's the phenotypic ratio. This is the genotypic ratio. And then if we wanted probabilities, we'd say a probability here for a purple offspring is 1 box out of 2, so 1/2. Probability of a white offspring is 1 box out of 2, this one, which is 1/2. So it's half and half whether you get each. And if we wanted to say what's the probability that you get 2 purple offspring, 1 purple probability is 1/2 times another purple probability is 1/2. 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 4. So the probability of 2 purples is 1/4.